Hi there. Whoops, an imperfection. We'll come to that later. You know, there are folk out there who are claiming to be real Gnostics that possess the secret. And in this presentation, I want to look at both the words real and secret. I think I've already looked at the word secret a little bit in another video. For a start, the thing about being a real X is that what you're trying to do is distinguish yourself from a false X, a false person, a false Gnostic, as it were, in order to make yourself feel better and more secure, and you know, knowledge is power. So I have the knowledge. I'm the real deal. Had all this before in neo-paganism in the 80s. You know, I'm a real pagan and you're a false pagan. But the thing about it is that in this world, to a greater or lesser extent, we are all fake, okay? Because we're living in a fake world, for a start. And when I mean fake, I suppose also people mean you know, people that don't quite live up to the name Gnostic or enlightened. In the Kabbalah, there is a distinction made between the ideal and the actual. So the ideal is, you know, the world as I would like it to be, and myself as I would like myself to be. And there is the actual, which is my mind reacting to fear, which is a natural reaction to scarcity in all forms. So fear takes multiple forms, and of course greed is the other side of fear. So when we go into fear, great or small, we abandon the ideal of what ourselves could be, and we descend into what we actually are for the most part, which is the animal self. And we are soul trapped in an imperfect mind and an imperfect body in an imperfect world. So that pretty much sums it up, really. There's always going to be a disparity between theory and practice, so that you have a theoretical grasp of being a Gnostic, for example, or you claim that you have, and then there's a disparity between that and your actual life, which is basically a slob like any one of us. And not only that, but those people who claim to have a panacea or some kind of philosopher's stone that makes everything right, or a magic wand that makes everything right, be very wary of people. They're snake oil salesmen. And there's very subtle forms of snake oil salesmen around, and all trying to peddle you a panacea. But the thing about it is, you see, that meditation and crystals and I don't know, and washing your bowels out and washing your nose out, all these things can make a difference. They can make you healthier. They can boost the immune system. They can make you more resistant to viruses and bacteria even. But the word there is can, okay? But we live in a multi-dimensional, multi-causal universe. And just by, you know, sucking garlic, for example, it can make a difference, but it also can make very little difference. In the grand scheme of things, perhaps no difference at all. So be very aware of people peddling panaceas and sort of and things that cure everything, and things that cure your psychology. My teacher, he used to come in and say, "I'm an alcoholic, and I am an alcoholic now and forever, because you're never not an alcoholic." But he says, of course, I do my spiritual exercises, and he said I do my meditation, and I do my yoga, my breath awareness, and all these things can help the craving. They can help me to control my alcoholism. And of course, going to AA meetings and talking about my craving also helps a lot. And I got the 12-point program, the 12 steps, and they are fantastically help. And I got my mentors helping me as well. But I'm an alcoholic, and I just have to take one drink. And all this meditation, crystals and angels and what have you would all go by the board. I'd be back to drinking heavily like I was before. Drinking totally out of control, in fact, as I was before. So, I made a decision not to be an alcoholic, and all these things can keep me on the wagon, but I can fall off the wagon tomorrow. I only have to have enough fear and stress in my life, I suppose, for it to counter everything that I've been taught on the spiritual path, for it to go asunder. And that was fantastically welcome honesty, I can tell you that, because too much I've been a lot involved in New Age for a long time, decades, and I've met loads of people who are basically hypocrites. That they form a persona around themselves, and they say, "Look at me! This meditation is wonderful. It's a panacea. I'm so wonderful." But when you look into their lives are pretty chaotic, especially on the personal relationships. But my teacher was, he said, "Well, I've had about 6 wives." He said, no woman can stand to live with me. And he said, and anyway, as they say about alcoholics, woman comes in by the door, or man comes in by the window, and sobriety goes out of the window. That's a well-known phrase. So alcoholics are very difficult to be intimate with people and to have relationships, long-term relationships. And he's even saying, like, well, is there such a thing as a long-term relationship anyway? But that's another point. So is there a real Gnostic? I don't think so. Mea culpa. We are all sinners. That's for sure. We are all sinners, living in a sinful world, directed by a sinful creature called the Demiurge. And the Demiurge has, in this realm, the last laugh. Okay. Because there's always something that can distract you, and something will distract you, and it is inevitable that you will be distracted, that you will go into fear and stress and aggression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and self-harming behaviours and emotions. And don't let anyone tell you any different. Okay, so we are all fake, but within us, there is the real, and the real is the soul part of our consciousness to which we can have access on times. Again, the word "can" comes into it. We can achieve soul awareness, and some people can achieve soul awareness for a very long time, very consistently, and good luck to them. But even they would not say that they were real Gnostics or real spiritual people. Because they know only too well that pride goes before a fall. And spiritual pride is the last great temptation and last great distraction of the Demiurge. And that's one that gets you every time. All right. So let's have a bit of humility around here, and a reality check as well, in that, there is a real part of us, which is called the soul, and we can access that part of us through consciousness, through meditation, etc. But the reality is we're also, rats in a sinking ship, tearing each other apart to desperately try to survive for a little bit longer. And that's the concentration camp that we are. We are in this concentration camp, and nothing will get us out of it. Except the Holy Spirit, of course, and the action of grace, which, of course, goes beyond any of your own efforts in any case. So having disposed of that, we come on to people that have the secret. Well, of course, knowledge is power, so I suppose people that say they have the secret are claiming they are powerful people. Power. Okay, again, the sin of pride, hubris, that you can think you have power over the Demiurge, you have power over this world, you have power over your destiny. gobbledygook, I'm afraid to say. All right, you're just deluding yourself, really. You are. But the thing about the secret, is Gnosticism secret? Well, the short answer is yes, because the Gnostic experience is so personal that you can't really talk about it to anybody. You can barely even acknowledge it yourself, let alone talk about it. And the funny thing is that I have noticed that if I talk about gnosis, or if I talk about my own practice, meditation practice, which isn't gnosis, it's just a path to gnosis, very often I can't do the meditation for days after talking about it on YouTube and to other people. Why that is, I'm not very sure really, but it's just a phenomenon that I've noticed in myself. So basically, you should keep things secret, and Jesus also said you shouldn't tell people about the miracles that he performed, which brings us on to the other category, which of course is restricted knowledge. People often get sucked into knowledge that they're not ready to be involved in, and they have a huge explosion of ego, and they become like they think themselves to be real Gnostics or real occultists, and everyone else is a fake, and they think that they have the secret. And this sort of self-importance will blow up in your face eventually. Perhaps not today, or even tomorrow, or even next week, but eventually it will. I can assure you of that. So and it's not just sort of false ego telling you this. It really is true. Every time somebody steps on the stage to play a musical instrument, they are humbled by the fact that they could have a bad day, and all that training and all that preparation, won't stop them from playing a bad gig, from playing their instrument badly on that particular night, because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And there is a factor infinite and unknown, which will trip you up every time, especially in these realms of the demiurge, where are full of banana skins, basically. But that shouldn't lead you to despair. You should still try, you should still practice, you should still perfect your meditation and your pranayama. Of course you should, but you are humbled. You do it in a humble way, but you do it in a steadfast way. And that's basically all I can say on that, really. So apart from restricted knowledge, and also, of course, there's people that say, well, the dark forces want people to talk about things so that they can reduce the power of the things that you talk about. Don't know about that. Maybe so, maybe not. I'm not going to dwell on that. And then, of course, there's public. The Buddha said, everything I say is public. I have an open hand. There's no secrets. If you can understand Sanskrit or Pali, you can understand my philosophy. It's very simple. It's very public. It's very open. It's for everybody. It's for everybody to contemplate, and everybody. And if you get it, you get it. And if you apply it to your life as best you can, that's all you can do in this world. And that's public knowledge. So there's an open hand there. Got nothing to conceal. And of course, if you haven't got anything to conceal, if you haven't got secrets, people don't become paranoid about you. You see, or at least they try not. Well, the most paranoid people will pick a fight with you anyway. But most people will say, well, if it's not secret, it must be okay. And it must be okay. Now, of course, against that, we have our own private thoughts. And our thoughts can be illegal thoughts. They can be so awful, But of course, those are your private thoughts. That's your own. That's your own business. No one else's business. But another category, I suppose, after public is public outrageous exhibitionist. And I have tried that on YouTube, and YouTube were not impressed and booted me off the network for that. Being exhibitionist, being outrageous, you can only get away with it for a while, and then somebody calls the cops, and they carry you off to a mental institution or to jail, or fine you or to court. So but outrageousness can be effective in small doses, I think. And sometimes it's good to go out there with a megaphone like Danny Shine and say what the hell's going on? You're all nuts in the public arena. And I mean, we do have freedom of speech apparently, so you are allowed to do this. So, but even then, if you cause distress, then they can get you on public order. So we don't have that much freedom of speech really when it comes down to it. So we have here, outrageous public. We have public, which is acceptable. We have restricted information, which is to try to prevent people from harming themselves. And we have private, your own private thoughts, and we have secret, which is basically your own experience of gnosis, which is a secret that you cannot impart to anybody. And that's the part of you, I suppose, that is real. Part of it that no one can take away from you, not even the demiurge, ultimately. Although the demiurge certainly will try to take that away from you, of course, because if you were totally enlightened, you would have no fear, and then you wouldn't be fodder for the demiurge anymore. You see, so you'd be useless to him, really. But of course, we are all subject to fear and spiritual pride, and fakery and self-delusion, in many, many different respects and in many, many different subtle ways and gross ways. And so you really can't say that you are a real anything, actually, or that you possess the secret. You possess the secret, I suppose, for yourself, but you don't possess the secret for anybody else. And if you do have access to methods and methodologies and modes of healing, you may publicly share those with people on the proviso that you make it clear to people that these can make a difference to their lives. But of course, nothing is absolutely cast iron guaranteed, and you're not trying to sell people a panacea. I suppose if you are claiming a panacea, you should then you definitely can't charge for it. So you put up the information and put it in the public arena for free. But so that I suppose you're a bit more ethically able to claim anything you want if it's free. People just can reject you as being a nutcase. But the best thing to do is to not claim anything, not have truth claims, unless they're backed up by rigorous evidence and rigorous empiricism. And even then, people can still say you're wrong. So you've got to be prepared for people to say that your empirical evidence is dodgy, and not to worry about that, not to be offended by that. If people, say, "Oh, your evidence is not conclusive," in fact, which happens all the time in science, by the way. But you see, when it comes to occultism and Reiki and New Age stuff, of course, there's egos and personalities involved, and people get very offended if you tell them that they're wrong about something. And of course, ultimately, maybe we're not wrong about anything. Well, we're certainly not right about everything. That's all you can say. We may not be wrong about everything, but we're certainly not right about everything. And the point is, we cannot be right about everything in a world which is fundamentally wrong, okay, fundamentally flawed. You share in that flawed world, but you also share in the perfection of God. But as sole human, you partake of both. So be very, very careful about people that say they are a real Gnostic who possess the secret of Gnosticism. Okay. Actually, and then, of course, the final point is obviously, by definition, secret means never to be divulged. So if they do possess a secret, they can't divulge it to anybody. They can't say what it is, only that they have a secret, which is a bit like having the emperor's clothes, really. You can claim you have a secret, but nobody knows if you have a secret. because, by definition, you can't divulge the secret. So you're in a bit of a sort of logical contradiction there anyway. So the best thing is not to have. Best thing is to have secret. Best thing is to keep your thoughts to yourself. Keep some knowledge restricted to a group of people that have been vetted, who are not completely psychotic, and make public what it is possible to make public without frightening the horses. Although bear in mind that sometimes you can actually get outrageous in public as well, if needs be, if you think it's really going to do good, ultimate good, and not just become something like a session of bullying people like Danny Shiner. I think he's become a bit of a bully, actually. He's not sort of being outrageous. He's actually bullying people and being nasty to people, and I don't think that's very, very kind, really. But anyway, that's just my little thoughts on Danny. But otherwise, keep it real, live in the real world, know that you're in the real world, and know that you have the gnosis inside you, but that you probably can't actually talk about it to anybody. So in that sense, you possess the secret, the secret of your own self, I guess.